What's up, fellow data entry enthusiasts? It's Teak, and with this one I wanted to do something a little bit different. Instead of focusing on the ins and outs of one strategy, I wanted to do a more involved deep dive into lower investment strategies for both early league and any of you out there that are just in a position where you don't want to invest a lot into maps, but still want more out of your maps than what All Can Go has to offer. So in this particular set of tests, we're going over Atlas point value, what type of profit you can expect to get from each league mechanic at various levels of investment, and whether or not certain league mechanics are even worth running at all. The league mechanics that we tested in this set are Expedition, using rusted Expedition scarabs, Harbinger, using polished Harbinger scarabs, and Beyond, using a 4-use Beyond compasses. For our naturally occurring league mechanics, we're running points in Harvest and Essence. So just to quickly go over the core mechanics that we blocked, we're blocking everything except for Harvest, which means we're also blocking Expedition since we're running a Scarab to force that on our maps. Just a quick overview of how I structured the spreadsheet. You can cycle through sets at the bottom here. We have our total encounters in each set, our map drop related stuff in each set, as well as our totals from each league mechanic in each set. And if you scroll halfway down, you'll get our pricing reference chart, which you can edit yourself if you'd like to. All the values up here are based on bulk values. And then if you scroll down even further, you can see our harvest encounter data. So which map they were on, how many plots that contained, whether or not any of them gave us a second gather chance through the wilted node, and then our boss encounters. Alright, so for Expedition, we're basically taking every node to do with Expedition, except for the chances to contain an Expedition encounter, since we're forcing that with a Scarab. We're also going to skip over this explosive placement distance because it wasn't necessary to cover 100% of the Expedition in our maps. And we're skipping this cluster here. That increases the quantity of artifacts since they're not relevant to this test. Okay, so for Essence drops, we ended up with 210 stacked decks. Our logbook total was 42 logbooks, 11 of which were Sun logbooks, 23 were Scythe, and 8 were Druid. Our total profit from that was just under 2,000 Chaos. For our reroll currency, we ended up with 628 total pieces, 94 were Burial Medallions, 123 Exotic Coinage, 269 Astragali, and 142 Scrap Metal. That brings us just to slightly above 2,200 Chaos from that. Our other miscellaneous currencies and essences were from the remnants that give us a chance for Runic Monster or chests to give either currency or essences, and that is added up and totaled here. We had one divine drop, so that did push the value of this up by 200C. Everything else was either chaos or regal or just bubblegum currency like that. As far as essences go, mostly screaming essences, those were upgraded and the sub 1C ones were discarded. So our total profit from Expedition in this set is 5,032 chaos. We spent 9 Atlas points and we invested 2.5C per map. If we scroll over here to our revenue per map columns, we ended up with 26.2C per map. Our profit per map was 23.71C, and our profit per map per Atlas point was 2.6 Chaos per Atlas point. So for Harbinger, we're taking all of the nodes to do with Harbinger, which includes Ominous Arrival. It also includes Unspeakable Offensive and First Wave. The only nodes we are not taking for Harbinger are these 2 additional Harbinger chance nodes, and that just helps us cut down on variance a little bit in our testing. We invested 12 points into Harbinger. Our total Ancient Orbs were 51.7. Our total Annuls were 48.4. Our total Exalts were 11.15. And our total other miscellaneous currency like Chaos and Regals were 151C. So that brings us to 1777C. We invested 1C per map, so that brings our total revenue per map to 9.26, and our total profit per map to 8.26. If we factor in our Atlas points, we're making just shy of 0.7 Chaos per Atlas point per map. So for Beyond, we only actually ended up testing these 4 nodes here. The reason we didn't take Torn Veil is because as soon as the boss spawns in Beyond, the monsters no longer spawn after that. So we want the boss to spawn as late in the map as possible to increase the amount of currency that we get. Torn Veil will just help increase our odds of spawning the boss early on in the map, which is detrimental to our profit from Beyond. We didn't end up taking Scent of Blood either because we're forcing it anyway, and we don't need these extra XP nodes that are connected to it. And as far as Fiendish Opulence goes, in the majority of our maps, we ended up encountering the boss in the first 60% of the map, so Fiendish Opulence wouldn't have had a whole lot of value anyway, and the additional basic currency has so much variance. Most of the time it ends up being like a Jeweler Orb or something like that, and it's just something that ends up getting filtered anyway, so I didn't actually take those nodes. The extra 5% increased quantity of tainted currency drops can be easily calculated on the spreadsheet afterwards, so we just skipped that altogether. So for our Beyond currencies here, we ended up with 1 Tainted Exalt, we ended up with 11 Tainted Mythic, 76 Fusing, 127 Chromes, 87 Jewelers, 169 Armors, and 173 Blacksmith Whetstones. Brings our total Beyond currencies to 644, which puts us just over 1800 C worth of revenue. So as I mentioned before, we only spent 4 Atlas points, and we did have some investment costs as we were running Beyond Compass, which were 3 C per map. So that puts our revenue at 9.45 C per map, puts our profit at 6.4 C per map, and our profit per map per Atlas point at 1.6 Chaos. So for Harvest, as I mentioned before, we're blocking a lot of mechanics to increase our odds of encountering the Harvest. We're also going to take all of the nodes that increase our chance to contain a Sacred Grove as well. The only nodes I ended up excluding from this test to do with Harvest are Bountiful Harvest and additional Life Force from Harvest. The reason I excluded Bountiful Harvest is because I want to test this node in the future and I needed a set of data to reference to when I do those tests. So for the purpose of this spreadsheet, this does not include Bountiful Harvest. For our Life Force, we ended up with 13,673 red, 15,526 blue, and 12,121 yellow. Brought us to 41,320 total Life Force, and that breaks down to 132 Life Force per plot. Our encounter rate for Harvest was just shy of 40% of all maps contain a Harvest, which is actually pretty decent. Our Chaos total from our revenue is 1,541 C. We invested 15 points, and there was no currency investment into encountering this since this was natural occurrence. So that brings both our total revenue and profit per map to 8C. And if we break that down to value by Atlas point, it ends up being a little over half a Chaos per Atlas point per map. Lastly, for essences, we're taking a zero chaos investment approach to essences so I can get a baseline for another future project. So we're leaving out essence rare chance because we don't really care about that extra rare item with an essence modifier. And we're leaving out the 2 nodes for remnant of corruption essence chance because we actually want to corrupt our essences, and getting an essence of corruption means the essence is already corrupted and we cannot corrupt it with an essence of corruption. So for our essence data, all of our data from essences was taken from Excellence. In our future project, I'm going to go over each type of essences we got, how much they are in bulk, as well as their baseline price, and we'll dive a little bit deeper into the actual value from essence. For the purposes of this spreadsheet, we're going to keep it pretty simple and quick. So our total revenue from essences was 1,035.33 chaos. There was no investment cost, so there's no investment per map. We used 14 Atlas points, which comes out to approximately 0.385 chaos per map per Atlas point. And our total revenue per map, which is also the same as our total profit per map, ends up being 5.39 chaos. Alright, so that'll pretty much do it for that one. That's all the data that I have for you guys. In the next set, I intend to do some metamorph and maybe some rogue exile, as well as cover essences a lot more in depth. If you guys have any suggestions, feel free to drop it in the comments. You can also stop by my Discord, which I will leave in the description if you have any questions or whatever. Also, as I mentioned before, I've been streaming live on YouTube from time to time, so if you want to stay up to date with that and any other videos that I post, make sure you hit the subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you're enjoying Lake of Calandra. I hope you have some good luck with your future strategies, and that is pretty much all from me. Take care. See you later.